actual healing. The trauma to her flesh had mended easily enough, her scars the only reminder of who she had once been. But the other wounds, the ones that she could only see when she closed her eyes, they refused to heal. She had hoped to drive them inward far enough that they would never escape. But escape they sometimes did. 4, 3, 2, 1. She finished working the cream across her arm and put the tube back into the old makeup bag before returning the kit to its hiding place. She had become adept at hiding things from Joe, and she felt a tiny tinge of dishonesty for trying to get rid of her scars. How many times had she told herself, told Joe, that she was okay with them? The cutting had helped her survive, had given voice to the emotion that roiled through her veins. Back in that terrible summer, it felt as though her anger lay trapped beneath her skin, a caged animal, its scream growing so loud in her ears that the only way to find peace was to touch a razor to her flesh. But those 7 scars, souvenirs brought back from a walk through hell, were now no more meaningful than cracks in a dried lake bed. Apply a little skin cream, and soon they would be gone. When she worked the cream over her arm the first time, a week earlier, she contemplated telling Joe about it. Why not? He knew about her past, about the men, the cutting, and the 2 weeks she spent in the psych ward, so why not tell him about her little experiment in scar reduction? He had stayed with her through every new revelation as she eased him into the nightmare of her past, which sometimes made her question his judgment. That poor judgment came into even sharper focus just after Thanksgiving the previous year, when he started hinting about marriage. First, he slipped a comment about her dainty hands into an otherwise casual conversation, guessing that she probably wore a size 5 ring. Then, as Christmas approached, he struck up a conversation about diamonds, as if she might not notice his clumsy attempt to ascertain her preferences. He was stumbling toward a proposal, and Lila reacted like a woman standing in the path of an avalanche. She responded to his diamond inquiry by blathering for half an hour about the evils of blood diamonds. Then she made up a story about a law school friend who argued that the notion of marriage proposals, as a tradition, should go the way of hoop skirts. That Christmas, instead of an engagement ring, Joe gave her a spa day gift certificate. By Valentine's Day, he had completely given up. His surrender signaled one night in bed as they watched a news story about a woman who organized a flash mob to propose to her boyfriend. At the end of the piece, Joe rolled over to Lila and said that it was good that women also took the lead in such things. As Lila often did when their discussions touched on marriage, she unconsciously reached a hand up the sleeve of her t-shirt and rubbed her biceps. That's when Joe reached his hand up to her arm as well, resting his palm on the back of her hand, his index finger gently touching one of her scars, pressing a fret on a guitar 8 years out of tune. When he spoke again, it was as if to apologize. I just think that the girl, the woman, should have just as much right to say when the time is right as the man. And if that time ever came... Joe didn't finish his thought, and although Lila wanted desperately to say something hopeful, no words came out. In the silence, Joe rolled back over and fixed his eyes on the TV. Lila may as well have yelled in his face that she didn't want to marry him. But that wasn't true. She loved Joe, loved him more than she thought she would ever love a man. In those moments when she allowed herself to dream about the future, she always saw Joe at her side. She wanted to tell that it wasn't him, it was her, but those words sounded hurtful and trite, so she said nothing. Over their 6 years together, Lila had done her best to convince Joe, to convince herself, that she had moved past what had happened.